The entire agri-food sector bears the brunt of the climate crisis.
Pour parler d'agriculture et d'Europe à la jeunesse.
Proteste der Landwirte zeigen, wie wichtig der stratégische Dialog ist.
La PAC, c'est plus du tiers du budget total de l'Union européenne.
We have to find a new consensus on the future of agriculture.
I think everything I do is depending on networking. There's so few things I do all by myself.
Thanks to networking, I changed my horizon. A couple of years ago, I think I'm only a farmer and I am a beekeeper and nothing else. Thanks to the meet incredible women, I try new things and I change my mindset.
I had just set up my business when the pandemic hit. We went into lockdown. But I had the benefit of being involved in a digital networking group locally with a group of people who were all at the startup stage of business. And that it really was key to our success.
Meet our guests, Maria Elf, Lidia Moroń-Morawaska and Helena Golden. They're rural entrepreneurs from Sweden, Poland and Ireland respectively. And, as you've heard, for all three of them, networking is a central factor in their entrepreneurial journey. A very warm welcome to this, the 47th edition of Food for Europe. Our subject is networking, the European CAP network, and, more specifically, how it helps entrepreneurs in their development. Networking in agriculture and in rural areas in general is hardly talked about, and the effects are difficult to measure. And yet, in Europe's rural regions, you always meet farmers and entrepreneurs who say, "Without networking, I wouldn't be where I am today." It's therefore a central issue for the EU's common agricultural policy. We'll hear more from Maria, Lydia and Helena a little later. But first, let's hear from Antonia Gamez Moreno, who heads the Rural Areas and Networks Unit at the European Commission's Directorate-General for Agriculture and Rural Development, known, of course, as DG AGRI. First of all, Antonia, how does DG AGRI approach networking?
Networking, it is really connecting people with a particular purpose. And so today it's even more relevant than ever with a very changing, complex and constantly challenging world that we are living. Learning from each other has become really essential and crucial. And this is what is the EU CAP network about.
And in what way is this related to the new CAP?
With the new CAP, meaning more flexibility, meaning more subsidiarity for member states, it was clear that networking was becoming even more crucial than before. So the role of networking at EU level, what we call EU CAP network, it's really a tool that drives and steers the policy, meaning that you have more involvement from the different stakeholders, more engagement, so they are more involved, promote knowledge sharing, but also promote capacity building for member states.
And how important are women in this process?
We organize workshops that is with that objective, to give the possibility to everybody, all local relevant actors, to meet and exchange what challenges are they confronting, how can they address, and then we publish the outcome of those events for the youth dissemination so that anybody else around the EU can really see how it was addressed. Is this useful for me? We also organize a workshop advancing gender equality in rural areas as well, woman-led innovation in agriculture in rural areas. So there are specific initiatives focused on women in rural areas for sure.
In fact, the workshop you mentioned took place in Krakow in Poland in April this year. Tell us a bit more about it.
Well, the objective was very clear: empower women in farming in rural areas by exchanging knowledge, also identify what successful initiatives and projects were launched by female innovators, that there are many, many. Normally, these events are then accompanied by a morning or afternoon visiting projects. And this is my great pleasure to see on the ground how important little initiatives become big initiatives.
Many thanks, Antonia. We'll be coming back to you a bit later. Now, let's move on to Maria, Lydia and Helena, who you heard at the start of the programme. All three of them participated in that workshop in Krakow. Maria, first you. Tell us a bit about yourself.
My name is Maria Elf, and I live in Sweden, in a very rural area. The municipality is called Ragunda. It's like really big square meters, but very less people. And I am a female entrepreneur. Here I have created my own job because it didn't exist what I wanted to do. My company has 3 legs. The first one is I'm making artisan food products, mostly from berries, vegetables, and fruits. And I also do catering and food events. And the last, smallest leg is butchery. I mostly take care of private persons' mooses now in the autumn. I also do more things, but that's the biggest ones in my company.
Well, berries are something of a Scandinavian speciality. What berries are we talking about?
In the part of Sweden where I live, we have a lot of wild berries. We have blueberries, we have lingonberries, we have cloudberries, we have raspberries wild. And my mom is out of work, so she is like collecting berries for me. And I also buy berries from different collectors. So that's the wild ones. And then this farm that I work with, they have a really big diversity. So they have sea buckthorn, they have gooseberries, they have all kind of currants in different colors.
Maria, this episode is about networking. What does that mean to you, and what role does networking play for you?
I would say that networking is the key in what I do, because I'm not a farmer. I doesn't produce the raw products, so I'm depending on others to do what I do.
And you were also at the EU CAP network in Krakow this spring. What's your perspective on the event?
It was really, really inspiring. We were I think 86 women from 24 countries. I would say that we networked all days. It was 2 days. So it was so nice. There was a really interactive workshop. So we did a lot of group work. We had, we changed people all the time that we worked with. We also were out 2 women entrepreneurs on the countryside there in Krakow and saw different companies. It was really interesting to hear about how other countries has it and how the EU has one politics, but how it then spreads so different in different countries, how it's taking its way. And okay, so in Spain you can do like that, but we doesn't have that in Sweden. How come that we doesn't?
Maria, thank you very much to you in Sweden. And our tour of networking experiences continues. Next stop, Ireland.
My name is Helena Golden. I'm based in Leitrim in the northwest of Ireland, and I am a full-time basket maker and willow artist, teaching the heritage craft of basket making throughout Ireland and further afield with my online school now as well.
Helena, how do you become a basket weaver? It's quite a niche craft.
10 years ago, I took myself to a one-day basket making class, a willow basket making class, purely for me in a recreational capacity. But I really liked the craft, and I started basket making as a hobby. I just really liked that kind of natural, tactile nature of the craft and that connection that it kind of seamlessly brought with our heritage and just our ancestors. And to cut a long story very short, over the past 10 years, basket making has turned into a full-time career for me.
And how did you turn your hobby into a profession?
I actually set up the business right before lockdown, before the pandemic struck. But in hindsight, that was actually the making of my business, because I suppose the pressure of lockdown happening and me having just set up a new business, I had to think fast and generate a lot of new ideas. And in reality, my networking circle was 100% the kind of driving force there.
What's the biggest advantage of networking for you?
Networking is important to me in terms of I live and work in a rural area. So to develop a successful business, I need to be engaging with people who are at maybe a similar stage in business where we can bounce ideas off each other and really just to combat that sense of geographical isolation. It's just that mutual support. It builds confidence, certainly.
And Helena, coming back to the workshop in Krakow that you also attended, how was it for you?
I was in Krakow for a number of days where there were 80 female businesswomen from all over Europe. So it was a real eye-opener. I suppose I anticipated that I was a very small business going there as a sole trader, but I was initially surprised by how small some businesses were in terms of still being successful and viable and sustainable. I just maybe naively thought going to a European platform that I was going to be encountering large businesses. So I was pleasantly surprised to see that other businesses of my size and smaller could operate viably.
Was there anything in particular that you took away from the workshop?
What worked well for me, I was actually given the opportunity to be one of 7 businesses there who could showcase. So I found, again, which was maybe somewhat overwhelming for me, that my business was used at that level and that I was actually able to help people to a certain extent in terms of how I was doing things. And that, that all promotes confidence, and I come back with greater confidence in my business.
Helena in Ireland, thanks very much. And now to the Polish region of Malopolska.
My name is Lidia Moroń-Morawaska. I'm from Poland. I am a beekeeper. Every day I do many different things, mostly related to farming and beekeeping. But I also bring a lot of new ideas to these areas. Together with my husband, Matthew, we run a migratory apiary. In addition, I manage one of the oldest organic apiary in the country. I also founded and lead the Małopolska group of producers. Małopolska is a region in South Poland. In this group, I work with several farmers, business owners, and the Krakow University of Economics. We work as part of the EU M16 project. Our main goal is to shorten the food supply chain, which not only helps the market, but also improve product quality and reduce the carbon footprint.
You've suggested there that your work involves networking. Can you expand a bit on that?
For me, networking is more than just meeting or exchanging business cards. It's about building real, long-term relationships with people who share the same values and goals. Thanks to this contact, I was able to start my Małopolska group of food producers, because some of the members of this group I met at these events. During these meetings, I also had the chance to learn from people across Europe about how they deal with challenges in farming.
How does CAP networking help you and women like you?
Thanks to networking, I can meet other women entrepreneurs working in similar areas. Often, these women understand the challenges of running a business in rural areas. Sharing experiences with them is priceless. Every new contact is not only a possible collaboration, but also a chance to exchange knowledge.
And what about networking at the European level?
Networking in a European context opens up a completely new perspective. I can exchange knowledge and best practices with farmers and innovations leaders from across Europe. What's really valuable on the EU level is having access to experts and chance to learn about and introduce innovations that work in other regions. These experiences have taught me how important it is to be active in various initiatives and open to new contacts, because these connections can lead to breakthroughs in my work and help the development of Polish farming on the international stage.
How important would you say networking has been in your company's development?
I think networking played a key role in my development as a female farmer and female entrepreneur working in a rural area. In rural regions, where access to resources, information, and business support is often limited, a network of contacts become a valuable source of support for me. Through networking, I was able to gain not only important knowledge, but also build relationships with other women who face similar challenges.
You mentioned that there's a lot of valuable networking support at the European level. Are there perhaps also aspects which, in your view, could be done better?
Even though the M16 program brought many benefits, there are things that could be improved. The administrative process could be simpler. Making the paperwork easier could help speed up the work and let people focus more on the important tasks.
Lydia, thanks very much for joining us. Now, Antonia from DG AGRI, back to you. Some observations on what you've heard.
I think we know all about the importance of simplifying this administrative burden on farmers, and this is one of the main topics that the UCAP network is addressing. When we consult the stakeholders defining the priorities for the activities of the next year UCAP network, and I think that it is clearly in the political guidance of even our president. Let's say that the CAP network is not only to say what is good and to exchange good practices. One of the novelties of the new UCAP network is that we have to inspire the policy of the future.
The EU CAP network and its aim and its ability to inspire future policy is perhaps a good point at which to end this episode. Antonia, thank you again for being part of Food for Europe. And thanks again to our other guests, Maria Elf, Lidia Moroń-Morawaska and Helena Golden, respectively, from Sweden, Poland and Ireland. That's it for this edition of Food for Europe. You can listen to all our episodes on DG AGRI's website and on all major podcast platforms. Join us again soon for another look at the best of Europe's farming and food.
The entire agri-food sector bears the brunt of the climate crisis.
Pour parler d'agriculture et d'Europe à la jeunesse.
Proteste der Landwirte zeigen, wie wichtig der stratégische Dialog ist.
La PAC, c'est plus du tiers du budget total de l'Union européenne.
We have to find a new consensus on the future of agriculture.